everybody. Welcome back to the No Cover TV podcast. Look who's in the house right next to me. Howard J. Levinson's in the house. We're going to have an awesome interview with Howard. But before we talk to Howard and get into this great interview that I'm looking so forward to chatting with, I got to talk to you out there and thank each and every one of you. Checking out the No Cover TV podcast. All the visual shows that are on YouTube, all the audio shows are on Spotify. And thank you to all the people from 1997 to 2014 that checked out No Cover TV, the TV show. We had some wild times. Big hell didn't like that. So what happened, happened. And it was a great time, and appreciate all the bands and artists and the viewers back in those days. Thank you so much. So down below, you can see it scroll on the website. Check out the website. I update that all the time. Put some great pictures of the band's names up there. And, of course, you can email me, too. And, of course, I've got a list here, right here, because I can't remember everything, but there's some wonderful people out there I need to thank that are helping these artists out behind the scenes, doing a great job getting their music out there. I get their story and the music out there, and it's just worldwide. We all got to work together to help all our artists to get their music out there. So let me go through this list real quick and get the thanking out of the way, and let's go. Oh, hey, Sandra from De La Parra Entertainment. Sandra, you're out there. I know you're out there. Andrea Hall Music Management, Blindfolded International Management, Legion Entertainment, Round the Clock PR, SBM Global Media, The Sound Lab, and welcome to the family, a new one, Curtain Call Records. Welcome to the No Cover TV family. I welcome all of you to help bring your artists on the show so we can get you out around the world. We're in almost, 40 countries now, and some of them I've never even heard of. So that's a good thing. Hey. I love it. I love it. So let me catch my breath, because you know what I'm going to do next? My three favorite words. What are they, folks? It's right below. Support. Support these artists. Go to their shows. Hey, cover charge if there is one. Get to their swag table. Get a CD, an album, a hoodie, a T-shirt, a coffee mug, keychain, bumper sticker. Just bring a duffel bag, load up. All right, take it all. They really support the artists. They get out to that stage and enjoy the show. See if you can stick around afterwards. Meet these great artists. Get an autograph, because in my book, they're all going straight to the top. That's right. And remember, these artists do what they do to put a smile on your face. And your smile kicks right back to them, puts a big old smile and grin on the artist's face. It's a wonderful thing. And I think in my heart, and I know it, music makes the world go around. It does. It's a beautiful thing. It's always been in my heart. I love what I do, and I love what these artists do. So like I said, in the house today is singer-songwriter Howard J. Levinson, all the way from Missouri, if I'm correct. Right, Howard?
You're right. Right in the middle of the state.
Right in the middle of the state. Oh, my, oh, my. So, Howard, we got quite a bit to chat about today, and this might be a 3-hour show. I don't know. No, we'll try to keep it down. But you're a very interesting gentleman, and we're going to hit on a lot of different things. Howard here is a country artist, rock artist, a little bit of blues in there, but I'm going to back it up to the beginning. Howard, I'm hearing some outlaw country out of you. I'm liking that a lot. Mm-hmm.
Good to hear it.
Yeah. I'm loving your music, brother. Incredible. Mm-hmm. So let's talk. I'm figuring we're both probably around the same age, old. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. We've seen our times, haven't we? So I want to talk. Before we talk music, I want to know something about you, Howard, okay? Well, I want to know a lot, actually. But we're going to go back in time. I want to get in your head. Is that all right?
Good luck.
Okay, I'll find a way in there. All right, let's go on a journey with Howard here. Okay, Howard, I'm feeling in my heart and bones you started at a very early age, like I did. Now, before we get really up in the teen area, I want to talk about 8 to 10 years old, 11 years old. We're listening to what our parents are playing on the radio or records. If we have older siblings, we're listening to what they're listening to. And you're grabbing a hold of what you're liking at that time. What were you listening to on the radio or the albums at that time?
Well, my folks listened to a lot of the show tune stuff, like the show tune stuff.
Nice.
Sound of Music, that kind of stuff.
Great stuff.
And then on the radio, when I was that age, I fell into, there was a couple of stations that were starting to do like the early rock and roll stuff. They were playing that, and I stumbled upon that when I was, I guess, about 12 or 13. I started listening to that, and some of those were like the late night stations. You could pick
Oh,
up maybe in St. Louis, Missouri, it was KXOK.
really?
Disc jockey's name was Johnny Rabbit. A weird guy.
Johnny Rabbit. Shout out to
But he,
Johnny.
but he would play. He'd play all that stuff. The early Elvis stuff and
Ooh.
Buddy Holly and Jerry Lee and that kind of stuff. And then of course, when the Beatles came in, they started playing all that stuff. And I
Right
listened.
on.
Those were my earliest influences.
Okay, so you got a taste of a little bit of everything throughout the 70s, and of course, and then the 80s hit, and that was a whole different era for all of us. Definitely, that was something else. But when did you pick up the guitar? At what age did you grab that guitar?
I'd say I was probably about 14. Probably
14.
14. Initially, I was playing the drums. When I was a teenager, 13, 14, 15, I was a drummer for a while. And then I started picking up the guitar, playing guitar a little bit more because, of course, the guitar player gets more girls than the drummer does. So,
Between me and
yeah,
you,
better,
isn't
yeah,
that
better
why
have
we
the
all bought
guitar.
our guitars?
Yeah, yeah. Got the guitar, I've been a guitar player ever since.
Right on. Let me ask you the question: did it get you the girls?
Yeah, in some bands it did.
I'm not saying because my wife is in the same room as me. I'm not in my studio at this moment.
Yeah, I'm not sure I did any better than a drummer, but still.
Right on, brother. Right on. It was a great
Yeah.
times. Okay, well, what age did you start or play in your first band?
About that same time, about 14.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Start
14?
14, 15 years. Yeah,
Okay.
started playing, with some guys in the neighborhood, put a little band together, play a few things. Back then you could play out almost anywhere,
Right.
and for nothing. You weren't making any money, but you're playing your music and playing just,
Nah.
playing all the stuff that's on the radio, Louie Louie, Hey Joe, all those old songs.
Oh, beautiful stuff. All right. So now, you're 14, you were in the band and doing that. How long did that last?
The teenage band,
Yeah.
probably probably until I went to college. I went away to college at Mizzou, which is not far from where I am right now. I didn't go too far, but anyway, that's the University of Missouri here in Middle Missouri, and I went to school and got in a band there. And of course, dropped out of college to play in a band, so that didn't work out so well for the collegiate world. But you know, I got,
Right. I'll piss up
got,
some professors off, right?
yeah, got a pretty hard rock band, and in my early late teens, early 20s, and I've kind of been playing ever since.
Okay. Now, I was looking at your bio. I skimmed through everything, get to know people, and call the Secret Service and everybody. I mean, I know everybody. But anyways, were you in a band named Surgery?
I was, sure enough.
Tell me about Surgery.
Man, that was the early 80s in St. Louis, and we were probably one of the loudest and most lascivious bands in the area, with an influence of like Iggy Pop and Lou Reed, that kind of stuff. Um,
Oh,
pretty X-rated stuff, and we had a pretty good hard rock following back then in the days, but we were kids, we were having fun.
right. Yeah, and at that age, we were all over the stage. We jumped, we did everything, and we caused mayhem, didn't we?
Yes, yeah, there was mayhem. There was mayhem to be had.
Yeah, I remember. That's why I got a big nose.
I think I
Hmm.
was I was an instigator in a lot of that mayhem.
I truly believe that, Howard, as I love bar fighting myself. Hey, but we got a little older. So you went to college and you did surgery and stuff like that. But now, as time went on, when did you start going into more of a country blues type style?
I think as I got older, um, my musical taste changed some, and I really didn't want to play that loud, hard rock stuff anymore. And so I started playing, listening to more country stuff, and I just kind of leaned into that. And one of the guys who was in the surgery band back in the 80s, we hooked back up in the 2000s, and we played a few shows. We had another band that was pretty hard rock there for a while, but he and I both kind of started leaning into the country stuff and had a little three-piece ragtag band with a mando player, and we kind of went that route. And ever since then, I've kind of gone more deeply into country, outlaw country, writing more songs of that ilk
Okay.
than I did back in the day when we were writing hard rock songs.
All right. Now, from back in the day to today, did you do most of the writing of the music?
Yeah, yeah, I
Oh,
did
you did.
most all
Oh,
the writing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I did the when I played in music. I'm a guitar player myself, and yeah, I wrote the music. Of course, I didn't put lyrics together. I'm not a lyricist or a singer or anything like that. I just like to play guitar. So right on. So, what is? Let me throw this question at you. Favorite hard rock song to play?
Favorite, if we're talking hard rock.
Let's go hard rock. Yeah.
Okay. Well, like I mentioned, I'm kind of I'm a big Iggy Pop fan, so I'm going to go with probably Search and Destroy. Now, your audience may not have ever heard of that song, but it's a great hard rock song. That whole album
Oh,
is
yeah.
terrific.
You're dating us.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's good. All right, that's great. Now, you've obviously have a ton of influence through the 70s, 80s, possibly the 90s, and throughout the country era too. Can you give me a great country artist out there that you admire?
Well, I think both Hanks.
Yeah,
I studied a lot. I studied a lot and watched a lot and listened to a lot of Hank Williams Sr., of course, and then his boy,
oh
Hank
yeah,
Jr. And those guys. I mean, they really put a. I kind of like the idea that, and it's the old adage of songwriting: you write what you know, and
hmm,
those guys, and me too, for that matter, you write what and
right,
so
right.
you're writing from life experience,
Life
and
experiences.
those guys have life experience, and so do I.
Yeah, it was kind of like Johnny Cash and everything like that. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot of
yeah,
life experience. It's great. So now I want to go down that road a little bit. Let's jump off music. Life experiences. You're an amazing gentleman. You stepped up to play. You've had many awesome careers, my friend. What? Paramedic, firefighter,
yeah,
chiropractor, police officer.
yeah. I have not sat still. I think that's I don't know what I would be diagnosed as a kid, but I have not sat still. I have not sat still since then. But yeah, I have had multi careers over my lifetime. Of course, every one of them offered another set of different life experiences.
Oh yeah.
It's not like I sat at a factory and
No.
put stuff together every day for 40 years. I have done a shitload of different things, met a shitload of different people, and had a shitload of different experiences
Right.
with which to craft music.
There, yeah, and that's what I hear in your music is a lot of that life story and experiences. But I want to talk, and I've had I know a lot of police officers and friends, and they're in the department and the federal departments and Secret Service and things like that. And can I jump down this road when you were a police officer? How many years were you a police officer?
22.
22 years. And you probably started out as street beat, and did you move up? You moved up to, what was it, narcotics undercover?
Yeah, I did that and murder. I was a murder cop and you know.
Oh my, oh my. Okay. Well, this one question I want to ask, I guess I haven't really been able to ask this to anybody really, but well, maybe one person. Well, I have some friends in the department that are in some bands, and they're heavy metal bands. And now that when I work big shows behind the scenes or MCing or whatever, and they have to do some of these shows, um, they turn their eye to what they see backstage from people doing lines or needles in their arms or smoking pot. Were you able to do that back then?
was I able to turn my eye to it or just turn
Well, if
away?
you were playing music with a band that was doing drugs, were you able to just turn your
Yeah.
eye to that?
Well, I'm not going to say what sins the guys in my band were into,
Right.
but they were respectful enough to not shove it in my face, and not show that to me. And certainly, there was no secret that, hey man, that Howard's a cop, so
Right. Yeah.
you probably don't want to break out an 8 ball while he's playing, that kind of a thing. So I mean, people had some common sense, so I really wasn't put in a position saying, "You're stupid, don't do that shit in front of me."
Right.
And I don't think I would have been hard pressed to put on the other hat while I'm playing music to do anything anyway, because
Right. Yeah.
I,
I managed to work with a lot of artists over the years, and it was hard to turn the eye. And there was some times I actually put my foot up their ass, and I would throw down. It's like, you're not going to do this on my time. No, you're going to do your job. And that's that.
but things sure have changed, haven't they, Al? Now I can get my weed
Whoa!
at Walgreens, I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, right on, my friend, right on. One more question. I have a buddy that's into heavy, hard metal, and he was a police officer in New York. Yes, he was a beat cop. Now, the one question I asked him is, when he got a perp in the back of the car, did he play his music full blast and drive the guy just freaking nuts? Were you able to do that? Put Surgery's music in and say, fuck you?
Yeah, I never did that.
Never did that. So
I don't think any of our cars. I don't think any of our cars had cassette players or CD players anyway.
right, reel to reel on the dash
Yeah,
or
maybe that is,
something.
though.
8 tracks. Oh my God. All right, let's continue on, my friend. Let's talk a little bit about music. Now, you do most of your music. Is it mostly solo? Or are you being accompanied by a band that backs you at times? What's going on?
Well, I have been playing with guys out of St. Louis for, I mean, probably 7, 8 years now. Same couple,
Okay.
3, 4, and we played pretty regularly in the St. Louis area. But then about 5 years ago, I moved out here in the middle of Missouri, in the middle of nowhere on a farm. We have a farm.
Oh,
We have
nice.
a farm. So I do go back into St. Louis and play occasionally with those guys at some of the bars we usually play. But I have been doing primarily over the last couple years solo gigs, just
Okay.
at local taverns and coffee houses and stuff like that around here in the middle of Missouri. There's a bunch of small towns, and
Sure.
so everybody's got a bar or something, and there's plenty of gigs to be had just as a solo guy.
Oh, I believe that. I believe that. So now you're very busy. Now, what's this I read? Novelist. You written some books?
Yeah, I've written three. I
Three
got three books.
books.
Three
Three
books out.
books.
Yeah.
Uh, Fiction, nonfiction, biography. What we got?
Well, the first one I wrote was a sci-fi book
Ooh.
about a group of kids with Asperger's that, because of their brains were wired differently, were able to save the world from an apocalypse.
Oh, nice. I
Yeah,
like
that
that.
was the first. And then the second one I wrote was called The Tapping, and it was a forensic murder mystery, actually based on a murder of a child that I worked back in the day. And there's some supernatural overtones to it. But yeah, that was based on that one. So it's a lot of forensic stuff taken. A lot of it's taken strictly from the case, but fictionalized. And then the last one I wrote was a musical one where I have my protagonists are guys in a band, and they get wrapped up in a big government conspiracy, and it's all about government intrusion and no privacy, and how these guys in this band get wrapped up and taken for a ride. And so it's kind of a dark thing, but the guys come out okay.
Oh, good. I'm glad it's happy. Light at the end of the tunnel. Oh my goodness. Now, with your music, I love what I'm hearing and stuff. Are you putting out more singles and then an EP and more singles, EP? How are we doing this?
Well, I've got about 3 or 4 songs that I have not recorded yet that I'm working on that are at the final stages of I think they're about ready to hit the studio, and I just haven't decided whether to record here or in Nashville. I've done a bunch of recording in Nashville with work from different producers there over the years. I just haven't decided whether to do that, or I've got a guy here that has a studio. He did work in Nashville for a while, moved back to Missouri, I think, to be with family and everything. And
Okay.
he's got a pretty good, gaggle of musicians that he can call for in the studio, and he's got a nice setup. And so I haven't really decided whether I want to go to Nashville or stay here, but I do have about four that I'm gonna probably do sometime this year, before the end of the year.
Awesome. I can't wait till I hear them. I can't wait. Now, when you're in the studio, I know we're in modern times now, but would you like to record more on analog or digital?
Digital.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, I thought I might have heard analog. We'll
Well,
have to talk.
the last time I was in St. Louis, in 20, I guess it was maybe 20 years ago, when we recorded the last rock album of my band back in the day. What the hell was it? That was the name of the band, was called Billy Coma.
Billy
Anyway,
Como. I love it.
we did that reel to reel. I still have the reel to reel tapes.
There you go.
But yeah,
That's what I love.
digital is, I mean, I don't want to have a fax machine anymore, so why? I'm gonna go digital, man. I'm doing digital.
Right on, right on. I guess I miss the hum of the amps, getting poked from the microphone, getting the radio stations coming through, all that great stuff. Yeah, that was just hardcore, I felt.
Those were the days. Yeah, those were the
Those
days.
were the days, they were, my friend. Before we go any farther, Howard, can you tell everybody out in podcast land the platforms they can find your music, your bio, your website, everything about you?
Well, a lot of my stuff's on most of the streaming sites, Spotify, iTunes, Apple, that kind of stuff. And I've got on my website, that's howardlevinson.net. I mean, I've got some songs posted there, and some pics, and a bio, and a set list of songs, and, where I'm playing at. So I guess my website, howardlevinson.net, is probably the
That's the
easiest
best
way
way.
to find out most anything. But if you go to YouTube or Spotify and punch in my name, you'll find me.
And find you. We can't get rid of Howard, no we. So check out Howard. We'll get back to that in a minute. Now, I was looking on your website. You're going to be pretty busy coming up this summer. You're going to do a little tour, aren't you?
Well, just around here, yeah, I'm pretty busy. I play probably, I'd say 4, 5, 6 shows a month.
Okay,
Usually on the
that's
weekend.
good. That's real
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
All
And
right.
there's a bunch of places around here. Sometimes now that during the summertime, there's some date during the week gigs, to where bars are open, and there's a couple tourist towns around here along the Missouri River that have
Okay.
wineries and stuff. So there's a lot of places to play. So
Okay.
I play with a couple other guys around Missouri. I'll play harp for a band. I won't play any of my own stuff, but I just fill in as a harp player for a guy, and
Why not? Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. I like that. Let me ask you this question. Largest audience you've performed in front of?
Well, this goes back a ways. It's a funny story though.
Okay.
So, and you'll remember, Al, because you'll remember the days when there was streaking, right? Yeah, back
Yes.
in the day when, for some reason it became popular to get naked and run down the street, called streaking. Anyway, so
Yeah.
at the university where I was at in college, University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri, they had a street dance party, and they hired our band to play because we were the loudest son bitches in town, and we played, and it was 10,000 people.
Oh, that's a good crowd.
Great crowd. Some were naked, and some were not, but it was a fun time. And then I guess biggest crowd of late, I guess maybe a couple hundred at the most, maybe at a festival or something. But
Sure.
yeah, I'm not at the stadium level. You know what I mean?
Well, now, okay, let me ask you this. You've done the big crowd, 10,000 people, and then you're doing the smaller venues. What do you like better, the people, smaller venues where the people are on top of you real close and intimate, or you like that big stage with the big crowd?
Oh man, I love these small towns.
Huh?
You're playing at a bar, you're right up close with everybody, and if you play, I'll play a place, then I'll come back a month or so later, play it again, and they'll people come back to say, "Hey man, play that song about trucks, guns, girls, money, and beer again," or play that song about that NASCAR song you got. So they'll ask for, so that's, you don't get that with a huge crowd, you get that with,
No, no. I know this has had to happen throughout your career. How many times have you heard "Freebird" out in the
oh yeah,
background? Yeah.
I learned it too, so I can
Did
play
you
it.
really? So you can. There you go. That's I love it,
Yeah,
Howard.
yeah, I'll
We
play.
should.
They ask for Freebird now. I'll play a couple of verses of it, and then when I get to the place where there's the solo, it's got, yeah, that's all I got. I'm just one guy.
I'm done.
That's all I got. I'm not gonna break out into a solo, man.
Oh man, there's one in every crowd. I'm telling you.
Freebird.
Oh man, oh man. All right, I listened to the music, of course, loved everything I heard, and I wish we could talk about every song. But there's a couple songs I do want to talk about, and you just mentioned one of them, and that was "Trucks, Guns, Girls," and etc. and etc. That's great. That's great. Where'd that come from? Where was this? What was this about? You mean this life experience? You just come off the top of your head? What? Talk to me about that song.
Well, it's funny, I mean, if you go back to what we started talking about initially, remember in The Sound of Music, there's a song about, all my favorite things,
Oh,
when the dog bites, when the bee stings, I just simply remember my favorite thing. You know what my favorite things are? Trucks, guns, girls, money, and beer. And so,
yeah. All that
man,
order.
I thought, yeah, so I figured, let me write a song about that, and ended up, you know,
Amazing.
writing a song about
About trucks, guns, and beer, barrels, and beer, and all that good stuff. So you, so you kind of froze just a little bit, Howard, but we're still together, okay? So I want to ask you another question about another song. Can you hear me? Kind of froze up. If you can hear me, you froze for just a second here. We'll continue on. So let's see, Howard. How about if you leave and come back in? Can you do that if you hear me? And we'll see. We'll get this working. Howard's a little froze at the moment. Man, he's in Missouri. I'm in Michigan. Things happen, technical difficulties. So if you hear me, Howard, click off and click back on the link and come back in if you can. Or we'll just talk like this. Oh, let's see, Howard. Where are we at here? Can't hear you, my friend. So watch, come back in, all right? You froze up on me, Howard, okay? Come back in. All right, we're going to have Howard come back in. All right, let's see here. So let me just tell him to do that. We'll do that in. All right, let me get back to you out there. So I thank each and every one of you checking out the No Cover TV podcast. Howard, there he is. He's offline at the moment. We're having a little internet problem here. So it says offline. So let's see what's going on. We must have those storms coming through. They're going to bang the heck out of Michigan tonight and tomorrow. I don't like it, man. I want my summer, people. So quit sending the storms this way. I'm in Michigan. I got enough water around me. So, hey, I really like to talk to myself, and, I will answer myself. So that's a scary thing sometimes when you're on a camera or in front of a mirror and you start talking to yourself and you actually answer. So how you doing, everybody out there in the TV land, podcast land? We're waiting for Howard to come back. Let's see. He sends me a message. Let's see what he's got here. All right, he's going to come back in. We're going to do this. I got buttons to push all over. I feel like I'm back in the studio of the TV station. So let's see what goes on. Hopefully we get a great connection and we can continue on with this wonderful show that we're having with Howard J. Levinson. He should be back in just a second here. Everything's looking good. So let's see. All right. We'll give him a second or two. So again, go to the website, www.nocovertv.net. Yeah, that's it, right? And of course, if you want to hit me up and be on the show, that is nocovertv at usa.com. We're slowing down the shows this month a little bit because Miss Denise and Bay Al, we're selling the house and we're moving. So I might be taking June off, restarting the show back up in July and August. So and I'll tell you, we're going and moving to the show always has to go on. So let's see what's going on. Howard here. There he is.
All right, here we go. We're back.
He's back. All right, Howard. Okay. So we were talking about songs, but now let's go to another song. All right, brother?
Okay, sure.
And this one, I like this one a lot. Still Small Voice. I mean, it's kind of ballady with a little country rock to it. Talk to me about this song.
I wrote that when it's kind of self-reflective song,
Okay.
and it's got, of course, still small voice is a verse from the Bible. The still small voice is the voice of God or the voice of your conscience or whatever. It's your intuition that tells you, right from wrong. And so, I was in a reflective time where I was contemplating, what the hell I was doing. And so, the theme of the song is that listen to your intuition, and and the chorus is basically, it ain't about what you got. It ain't about who you are, what you're not. It's all about family and friends and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's pretty much, it's more like, I've written a couple spiritually based songs. That was the first one. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, yeah. I love that because it hits the heart. You believe in yourself. Definitely. That's for
Yeah, you
sure.
get old, you get older, you start thinking about the end of the line, right? So
Yeah, you do. I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of the gray hair and grow my long hair back like you have your mane. Oh my God, you still have it.
yeah, we'll have it. Yeah.
Yeah, you still got it, my friend. All right. Now, I got some fun questions I want to hit you up with. Is that all right?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, let's go down that road. Let's see how hard I want to hit you first. Oh, all right. I'm going to give you two answers on this question right here. In order to think around the world, two stages you have always wanted to step foot and perform on anywhere in the world.
Uh, I think I like to play in Red Rock.
Oh, yeah. Great place.
You know, um, and of course Ryman.
Oh, yes, the Ryman. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. We're out Royal Elverson Hall. Oh, yes, my friend. I see that, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get surgery back together and do Times Square.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I have to see if any of them are still alive.
Right. There you go. That's too funny. Let's go with another question here. I'll let you have two answers on this question here. These are people. I want a person that's alive and a person that's passed away. Who in your heart you always want to step stage on with and perform with?
Hmm. Alive. Well, let's see. I guess probably if I have to go back in time, I have to Iggy.
Oh,
He's still alive.
yeah, he is.
I don't know what kind of shape he's in, but
He's looking rough, but he's still going at
and
it.
and dead. Um, Hank Senior. You know, he'd be in that nudie suit he wears, with all the sequins and stuff. And
Right. I can see that. That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. Let's get to another one here. Now, I'm going to take you way back to that show of 10,000 people.
oh, good Lord.
So think about this one, okay? Or maybe even not that show yet. Any show, pretty much. But so when you get on the stage and you start performing your music, whether it's what you do now or what you did back then, but when you see the people turn around and come forward and they're liking what they're hearing, they might be swinging and swaying, they might mosh pit into the surgery, I don't know, but they're loving your music and you might see them singing your songs back to you. That's a big thing. How does it hit you in the heart when you see this, Howard?
Nothing better. Really, nothing better. I mean,
Very feeling.
I don't think any of us are in this for anything other than trying to get a response like that, to get the acknowledgement that what you did touched somebody, and that's what it's about.
That's the reason we all do it. I think it's definitely not for the money, but it's definitely
Yeah,
for the gratification of being able to please our audience.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's true. That's very
You
true.
can make somebody's day better just by playing a song. That's what it's all about.
Right. Okay. Now, I know this question right here has had to happen to you, whether it was back then or now. I need you to be honest. Here we go. Any
Okay.
embarrassing moments on stage you'd like to talk about?
None I really like to talk about.
Share with me, I'll share with you.
I haven't had. I don't think I've had any uh, of recent
Little internet connection thing going on again. We'll get it. We're still here, Howard. Internet's kind of stalling us again on the greatest question of them all. Why? So we're freeze framing again. And Howard, if this continues, you come back in. We're going to finish up this show, brother. This is a great show. I'm loving this, man, with Howard. So, Howard, we must be having a great time with our internet connections. Now, we got to love it. We pay the bill and it doesn't even work. How's that? That ain't right. So, Howard, come back in, brother. Come back in, all right? Okay. All right, offline. Okay, let's see if we can get Howard back. Let's see if I can add him to the scene. And he's still offline. Now, it's the internet thing. It's a wonderful thing. Let's see here. Howard, can we be back? No, he's still offline, it says here. So I need you to come back in, Howard. Let's tick with him and say, come back in. All right. And let's see what happens. All right, he's messaged me and he's trying again. We're going to figure this out, folks. Let's see if we can do this. Oh, he's left me. Hey! Don't leave me. I don't appreciate that, people. No, I'm just kidding. Howard, be right back. We get this going. We got a lot of crazy weather in the States right now. So, yeah, it's hitting us all. I'm done. I'm really done with it, man. I've just got done with winter, people. Why? All right. So, anyways, we're going to finish up with Howard. We got a few more questions to go. This has just been a great show. So, I want to thank Howard from the bottom of my heart for coming on. And all you watching, I appreciate you. Stick around. We got a lot of shows that are going to come up after I move, and it's going to be a curious place to where we move. So, some of you may know, some of you may not. If you can guess, hey, let me know. Maybe I'll send you some swag. Hey, hi, hi, hi. You never know. The swag bag might come to you. Oh. So, anyways, Howard's going to come back in just a second. We'll wrap up the show with a few more questions. And there's a lot I want to ask. We could go on, like I said, for probably a couple hours with Howard, but there's probably some things he don't want to talk about with me. We'll have to do that off air. So we're having a great time. Howard's going to come back in just a second here. Let me see how he's doing. And he should be back in just a second. I hear, there's too many darn buttons to push on these apps, podcast apps. And when you're in the TV studio, there's a lot of buttons to push. And you got to, of course, tell the camera, here he comes. He's back. Go on and only. There's Howard. Oh,
Oh
all right.
man,
Woo.
bad satellite, something.
Yeah, so like we pay our internet bill, it doesn't work, right? So, okay, we got to finish on that question. Embarrassing moments.
Okay. Well, like I was saying, I mean, I had some back in the day when I was younger and doing stupid shit on stage. You know, I guess I could tell you one that's kind of lame though. That's fairly recent. I'm doing more solo gigs.
All
And
right.
so when you're doing solo gigs, I rely on like a looper. You
Okay.
know,
All right.
so I can play leads along with rhythm and stuff like that. And I show up at a gig and none of my shit works.
Oh, shoot.
So, so I got a 3 hour gig. 3 hour gig. I can't do any leads. I can't do any solos. I can't accompany myself on it. So it was just a matter of adapt and overcome. And so it wasn't necessarily that embarrassing, but it sucked.
It was a pain in the ass. And
Yeah.
because the show has to go on, no matter
Yeah.
what.
It's like computers just now with all the stuff that's happening with our broadcast. You know, if it's at dials or diodes, it's going to cause a problem.
Exactly, my friend. Exactly. I checking out and I'm seeing, your music's being played worldwide, all over the place. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's nice to be to hit some streaming, stations in Australia and UK and Denmark and Germany. It's good for, it's good that they like that, like my kind of music over there too. It's cool.
No, most definitely, my friend. Now, some of the songs I listened to, you were collaborating with some other artists. Now, do you do that often? Do collaborations with other artists, or them with you?
Not very often, but I'll collaborate a little bit with a writing partner of mine that I write with every now and then. But most of the time, kind of like as a novelist, you know, just sit by ourselves in a room and type shit up, right? Okay, and so
Right.
and as a songwriter, that's pretty much how I work. I've done some co-writing, but most of my stuff is done sitting by myself in a room, writing lyrics and melodies, and then saying that sucks and let's make another. And so I'm like, I'm writing a song now that, I've got. Well, I can look at it right now. It says version 16. So I'm on the 16th rewrite of this thing with,
Really?
different. I've got the lyrics are fine, but I'm not happy with the melody. So I keep changing chording structures and am I going to play this staccato wise? Or am I going to play open chord, and capo, all kinds of different stuff.
A lot of decisions as a guitar player, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of guitars, I'm checking out what you got behind you. You got a Fender going on there.
If I can
What
move that.
else we got?
Let's see. I can't move this any farther. I got the acoustics of Taylor. I play Taylor, and next to that is a Gibson SG that I have had for 50 years. Bought that new. I've had that. I've played that in probably every band that I've ever been in since I was 21 years old, and then of course the Strat I've had probably about 20 years.
Oh yeah, well that is G 50 years old. You buy a house with that. Oh my.
Well, it's kind of beat up because
It doesn't matter. Vintage is even better. That's great.
still got some still got some screaming humbuckers on it, man. I'm telling you.
I hear you. I've kind of downsized on the guitars a little bit, but my main playing guitar is my Ibanez acoustic. I love the
Yeah,
sound of it. So,
those are great.
definitely great instruments there. All right, let's see. I'm having a great time, Howard. Thank you very much. I
Well, thanks
really
for having
appreciate it. Again, tell them your website where they can find you.
HowardLevinson.net. Yeah, pretty
Okay.
easy. There-
Now,
There's one
okay.
other Howard Levinson out there. I think he's a doctor somewhere. He's an MD somewhere. So you won't get music out of that Howard Levinson,
You
but
might
you
get
will out of
something.
me. You know.
You might get something that you might not really want. Don't know. Oh, that guy, hey, you don't know what he's doing, proctologist. No, just. But anyways, I want to ask this question here. We're old school. How many albums in the '70s did you have, and how many cassettes in the '80s did you have?
Well, I probably
Work internet.
have
Come on, internet, work. Oh, it has to freeze up on a question like this, doesn't it? I love paying my cable bill and internet bill. Hey, you got one more time, Howard. Come back in if you can, and we'll finish up the interview. We're having a great time being alive. This technical stuff is a whiz, ain't it? People be on my end sometime and do this. Unbelievable. So, Howard, come back in. Come back in. Come back in. Come back. I got to write him again. And there we go. And he shall be with me in just a second, and we'll wrap up the show. Howard J. Levinson, all the way from Missouri. So you're out that way or anywhere around them, check Howard out. Amazing, amazing artist, singer, songwriter. Amazing. So go to his website, like you said, and check out his music, everything about him, and where you can find him, and get his CD or download, digital download. That's what everybody does now. They just buy the digital downloads. Do that. Support these artists. Support, support, support. Don't make me go through this phrase again, people. I only do that in the beginning. I don't like to repeat myself. Oh, yeah. So Howard should be in just 1 second, maybe two. You never know. TV time, podcast time. I had a great time with each and every one of you out there. So again, go to the website, nocovertv.net. And of course, email if you would like me, if you'd like to be on the show, nocovertv@usa.com. .nets, .coms, .this, .that. Why we got to do the dot stuff? I don't understand. We should be able to simplify this, folks. So anyways, Howard should be in just a second here. Let's see how he's doing. Let's check out these buttons here, button there, and hopefully we can wrap up the show with Howard not breaking. I had to go down the old road and ask how many CDs and cassettes he's had and albums he's had. Oh, brother. Cassette days. Do you even remember that, people? Mm-hmm. If you do, say I mean, if you had a lot of albums, say hi, okay? Yeah, those were the days. Got to remember that skipping needle down your record. Hey, thank you. Thanks for bumping the album and the record player. So we're waiting for Howard, everybody. And again, I thank you, and he thanks you for checking out today's show. And you're all wonderful people out there. And again, support these artists. It's not about me or No Cover TV. It's about these people. Remember that. So let's see what Howard's doing. And is he coming back in, or did he tell me maybe, I don't know, man, he might be sick of this. So, it's almost dinner time, I'm seeing. Woo! So what are you having for dinner? Because I'm coming over, folks. So let me know what you're having for dinner, and I'll be over. I will. Mm-hmm. I like it all. Here he comes. There's Howard. There we go.
Oh,
Howard's back. Okay, Howard, we're gonna wrap this up, buddy. But that last question, can you answer that quick? How many cassettes and albums?
Well, I still have probably about 100 albums, and I'd say cassettes, not many. I probably had 50, and
Okay.
I got a bunch of CDs though.
Yeah, right. What are you gonna do with those? You can make good coasters.
Yeah, yeah. Anymore. That's why the last time I put out an album, I did it on is a business card size USB drive. That instead of doing that, people just open it up this little USB drive inside of a business card and stick it in your car, computer.
Cool. That's cool.
There's nobody.
That's a great idea.
You can't even get a car with a CD player anymore.
No, they're extinct. All right, two more questions before we get out of here, okay, my friend? And you've been doing this a long time, but 5 years from now, where would you like to be with the music?
Wow. If I stay healthy,
Right on, brother.
if I stay healthy and I'm still active, and I guess I'd still like to be doing these, local gigs. And, I've been up here in a few years in the country. I haven't really come across a group of guys I'd really like to play with in a band, but I'd like to put together another 3 or 4 piece band.
Nice.
Maybe do a couple loops down into Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Nashville, come back to Missouri, something like that,
That'd be cool. I can see that happening for you, Howard. Most definitely. You're knocking more doors down than you know, I think. Definitely. So one more question before we get out of here. These are for the youngsters out there. You got any advice for these youngsters that want to do what we do?
As far as music wise,
You want to be in the music business, whether it's being an entertainer or behind the scenes?
well, it's just like do it. I mean, if follow your dream. If your dream is to play guitar, then sit in your room and get off of YouTube and video games and pick up your guitar and play. I mean,
That's right. That's right.
if you want to learn to write. Go to take some classes, learn how to write, get yourself a computer and word processing program and start writing. You don't get any better at doing anything unless you do a bunch of it.
Exactly. You practice. You don't learn it overnight. It takes a lot of time. And you're always learning as a guitar player. I know that for a fact. You do too, most definitely. And writing, if you're going to go down that road, Definitely. Do what your heart tells you to do. Don't listen to everybody out there because there's a lot of naysayers that don't want to support what you do sometimes. Definitely. Believe in yourself. And like Howard said, dreams do come true. Make them come true. That's it.
Yeah.
Howard, it's been a wonderful show. It's been great. And it's been great talking to myself while you've been froze up. I appreciate that.
It seems like we had like 6 or 7 minutes where everything was fine, then it would go, then it would have a glitch in it, and then we'd come back, we get another 6 or 7 minutes. I don't know if that means there's something going on in the skies, or who knows.
I don't know, Howard. So, anyways, thank you from the bottom of my heart, Howard. I want you back on in probably a year or so. See what's going on. Just keep kicking ass, brother. All right?
All right, stay well, Al. Keep in touch.
All right. All right. Tell everybody we're out of here. Peace.
Thanks.
All right. Say it.